What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Gotta Get Back, the Samurai Jack and Review Show. My name is Kyle, your host, and welcome to Project Potter, guys. If you haven't seen the show before, this is episode 22, and we're doing a recap of the episode. We are doing a favorite character through the magic sword, favorite scene, a score out of 10, and then trivia or errors or Easter eggs if there are any. Remember last time, guys, probably my least favorite episode of the series with the farting dragon. Well, guess what, guys? I've said it before. Samurai Jack does not follow up a bad episode with a bad episode. Usually they bounce back, and boy, do they bounce back for sure in this one. So we're continuing through season 2 here, guys. And this is the first one that kind of goes outside of like planet Earth. So this actually goes into space. We see like this beam kind of traveling from one planet to the other there. And then we see like these really cool, like weird, like green blob creatures that are in a field that have like 4 different eyeballs. And then we get this awesome shot of these 4 creatures back here, the IMAKANDIs, who just like slowly poke their head out of the grass. And then they're slowly like prone going through the grass field. And they kind of like not step on, but they like one of them like hits a little branch or something, and these little creatures are like looking, and they look really stupid, but they keep eating, and then the IMAKANDIs actually like pop up there. There's a whole herd of them, and they're like running for their lives, and we see the IMAKANDIs who are super super fast. They run like Naruto style basically, but they're super fast, and they like leap up. They have this crazy yell, and they just have all these different like things that they can do. So they have a couple spears that they throw. They have like blow darts that will like electrify them. They have like lasso. So there's 4 of them, and guess who shows up? But none other than Aku. And we get the great horizontal middle frame shot that I love. That makes it look like a movie every time. Super cool on the IMAKANDIs, and then Aku says like, IMAKANDIs, I know you guys are the greatest hunters in the universe. He's like, I have a job for you. He's like, I need you to hunt down Samurai Jack. He's like, I'm the master of planet Earth. He is the one that has eluded me. He's like, I need you to do this. And he's like, all the treasure in the world is yours. And also, I'm going to make the sky rain with diamonds, like priceless diamonds. And they're like, okay, we will do this. And so the IMAKANDI go back to like their home planet for a minute. There's like a quick ritual where they like meditate or whatever. The fire turns blue. They kind of like warp together, and then they shoot over to planet Earth and like the spaceport. They kind of get some information where Jack might be, and then they find him like over by the sewers, and they kind of throw a quick lasso on him, and they're like, oh, the Samurai Jack. They're like, this prey was not worthy at all. They're like, we will bring him to Aku and tell him he can keep his prize money. Jack breaks out of the rope, and he's like, Aku, he's like, I will not be delivered like a beast. And then, Jack runs, and they throw like an arrow at him and the blow dart, and he runs away, and they're like, brothers, we begin the hunt. And like the IMAKANDI are super cool, dude. So then begins like the rest of the episode where they're just chasing Jack the whole time. And so Jack's running kind of through the sewer. They're running after him. The sound is excellent in this episode. So it's like just the sound of Jack's feet, and then just the sound of the IMAKANDI's feet after. And then like Jack is running, he goes through a tunnel, he climbs up, and then the IMAKANDI's run through the tunnel afterwards. And we hear the water rushing, and there's like all these cool silhouette shots of like them going through and him going through. Jack is like, I've never run into hunters with such prowess. And then the IMAKANDI finds him, and they keep running. They go through a sewer. They go through like all these different pipes. They're actually like tracking Jack like based on like his footprints and all that. So he's like on the other side, but then they go through another pipe, and they go to like the end of a waterfall, and it's like dripping and everything. Jack actually goes to the top or the ceiling, and he's like hiding like Tobey Maguire and Spider-Man, dude. And then like his sweater, like a drip from him, like goes down to the leader. The IMAKANDI throws the lasso on him, and it gets Jack's ankle, and he's falling down, but Jack uses his sword to quickly cut it. So the IMAKANDI pulls the rope up, and it's cut. And so Jack falls to the bottom. He starts swimming away. the Imakandis jump in right after him. They're super fast swimmers. So Jack goes up the ladder. They follow up the ladder. He borrows a space car and he starts going on the space car. He's like, thank you so much. Well, the Imakandis are just literally running as fast as the car. And Jack is going like full speed. And he's like, holy shit. And so then he like steps forward on the gas to go the other way. And Jack is trying to get away from them. But the Imakandis are so fast that he ends up crashing the car. Then he gets back on foot and he starts running. He runs into, I think, his first elevator he's ever seen because there's an up arrow when he looks at it and he's like, And then he presses up and he's like, he hears this noise and I think he kind of figures out in his head. But the Imakandis are running and they're running and he keeps pressing it, which is funny. Then he gets in there at the last second. So he takes an elevator up. It's like a glass elevator. Reminded me a lot of like Winter Soldier in the MCU. And so he goes up there, but the Imakandis go in another elevator. So there's a great scene where it's like Jack going up and the Imakandis are in the other scene and he looks over and they both get out and then they both run over back to the elevator and it happens 3 times. And then on the 3rd time, they both like stare each other down and Jack's waiting and waiting. And then as the elevator doors are closing at the last second, Jack runs in there and he slips in there and the Imakandis are stuck behind and he gives out like a great roar. So Jack goes up to like the top of this tower here and it's really windy and it's just the wind and there's no dialogue and it's really, really cool. And Jack looks to the left, he looks to the right, there's nowhere to go. And then he's like, looks behind him and there's a cool ladder that like swerves up to the very top. So the Imakandis eventually get to the top floor. They look left and right, they look around and they can't find Jack. But he's standing right above them and they're looking around and they're like wondering where he could have gone. But one of the Imakandis, he has like really, really, well, I'm sure they all do, but he has really, really good hearing. So his ear is actually picking up on Jack's robe flapping in the wind above them. And so then he looks up and they spot him and they climb up the ladder. And then there's this really awesome sequence that happens where like they go over to Jack and there's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like poles or like different, like, they're like high up in the air and it's very little room to maneuver, but like Jack jumps to one pole and then like he's holding on for his like life and then the Imakandis are coming and they're kind of getting closer and closer. So Jack's like holding on with one hand. Their hair is like whipping. So it's like flowing one way and then goes up and then goes another way. And Jack takes his sword out and he like avoids one attack and then like swipes at him, but the Imakandi dodges it. But then he like goes past the Imakandi. The other 2 come up there. So he has to jump to another platform. And he's standing up there. And then like there's like they jump up after him and then he goes to the highest platform. There's Imakandis below him. There's an Imakandi ready with a bow like at his face. And then he realizes he can't go up because it's too high and he can't go down because the other Imakandis are down there. So he's stuck there. And so he just kind of like centers himself. His wind is flowing. There's awesome shots between the Imakandi with the bow and the wind is going everywhere. And the animation is beautiful here because it really like they do a great job of like showing just how windy it is. And it feels high up. It feels like Cloud City basically in Star Wars. And so, yeah, there's like zoom in on the Imakandi. He's determined. And then to zoom in on Jack. And like we get the horizontal shot again, and Jack does like a thing, and then he like focuses himself. Imakandi winds up, he fires the arrow, and Jack actually catches it right before it hits him, and the Imakandi is impressed, and Jack is kind of like giving him a smirk. But then the Imakandi knows that he got him actually because it turns into like a snake, and it bites Jack, and that knocks him out. So he actually falls off of like the highest platform, and it looks like he's gonna like fall to his death, but the Imakandis don't intend on killing Jack. So there's like the other 3 Imakandis and like they have a rope tied to their leg. And then one of them is holding rope and the other one like jumps down and it's like a bungee jump basically, but he's diving, it's falling. And we know he's probably going to catch Jack, but it's still pretty intense. And then he grabs his leg like right at the last minute, right shortly before Jack falls. And so he's holding on to Jack and then the Imakandi's holding him up. So they capture Jack, they put him down there. Haku rises up and he's like, oh, the great Imakandis. He's like, you guys have not disappointed me. You truly are the greatest hunters in the universe. He's like, now hand over Samurai Jack. And they're like, no, we will not. And he's like, what? He's like, you forsake me? He's like, you insolent fools. And he's like, this was the greatest hunt we've ever had. He's like, this prey has earned the right to run free. And so Aku is like, no, you're going to hand him over to me. And they're like, no, we will not. And so they all get together and they like transport back to their home planet outside of Aku, as Aku like reaches to grab them. And he's like, no, IMAKANDI. And usually it's like Jack who is like, Aku. But this time they get a fast one on Aku. So that was a nice change. It cuts to a scene where I think they're on the IMAKANDI homeland and Jack is like still passed out. There's a really, really awesome like little blue monkey with like a super long tail that looks like maybe like a baby IMAKANDI or something, or just a creature of the planet. Really awesome design there. Like climbs up and like hits, like kind of tickles Jack in the face, which wakes him up. And he's like, where am I? Where did I go? And there's a little blue flame next to him. And he kind of looks at the flame, and then the IMAKANDI's face appears in the flame. And he's like, you gave us the greatest hunt. He's like, you have earned the right to run free. Jack is like, oh, like he earns the respect. He puts his hair up and he starts kind of walking slowly. And then the episode closes as the IMAKANDI is telling us, run free, Samurai Jack, run free. Okay, guys, the magic sword, it's an easy one. It's the IMAKANDI's, super cool. They're just awesome. I mean, they're the best hunters. I mean, the fact that Jack is so elusive and we know he's so skilled and he'll do anything it takes to get out of being captured. The fact that, there were 4 of them as opposed to 1 for Jack, but the fact that they actually do capture Jack at the end there, despite Jack's best efforts, just shows you how good they are. Because in the beginning, they take out like this like herd of like random creatures, but it's kind of like, all right, well, that was cool, but really like they showcasing their speed when like Jack's on the bike and he's going full speed and they're like catching up with him is crazy. And just the different, they worked so well as a team and they can really capture anything, and they are the best hunters in the universe, as Aku says. So they're super cool. I love their design. The voice is super cool. I'll have to see who voices the IMAKANDIs, but awesome, badass voice, badass character, badass design. Just all around, just amazing, and they get the magic sword for sure this week. On time, guys, it's got to be the end. Well, not even the end scene, but the scene where Jack goes up to like the very end, where it's the wind is blowing and everything, and the IMAKANDI's got his arrow pointed at him, and there's 2 IMAKANDIs or 3 other IMAKANDIs down there, and Jack is there. Just like that shot of like, it's like a side shot, and like the IMAKANDI's hair is blowing, Jack's hair is blowing. It's really cool. It's like red in the background. It's really, really cool. That whole sequence was just incredible. So that's my favorite shot for this week. For a score, guys, this one is really, really good. I think this is one of the best episodes of Samurai Jack in the series. With that being said, I'm going to give it a 9.5. Really, really strong. I just, again, I was disappointed with last week's episode with the dragon. I didn't think it mattered at all to the story. We haven't had Aku in a few episodes, so it was great to see Aku here. He's always excellent, voice acting and his actions, and just the animation is really cool to see. And to see Jack, who's kind of, walking around and nobody's been able to take him down, and Aku's throwing like, he threw Mad Jack at him. He's throwing all these bounty hunters, and he's trying to find a way to capture Jack. And so he's like, well, let me get the greatest hunters in the universe, the IMAKANDI. And he actually does succeed in hiring them and capturing Jack. But the IMAKANDI are like, look, man, we don't need you. And that was the greatest hunt we've ever had. We're going to let Jack roam free, because they either want to hunt him again or they just respect him enough to let him go. So, just awesome to introduce the new characters like that, and to have 4 of them who pretty much look identical but are just so awesome, and they have all these different skills. Kind of like the Ninja Turtles, really, where they have like the staff and the nunchucks and the little knives and all that stuff. It's like super, super cool. And like even though they're all the same type of creature or beast or whatever, they all have different skills. And like one's the archer and one's got the lasso, and it's when they get the spears, and it's all cool. They're all probably equally skilled, but they work as a team and they're unstoppable and they can really hunt anything down. And they showed that there with Jack being the prey, and just amazing. The shots were beautiful visually. I really, really liked it. I was impressed with the way that they used the sound, not only with just the footsteps, but the wind also. And the way they animated that, it looked really, really good. And there was no like stuttering or anything. And the elevator scene was great. And yeah, just start to finish, it's a great episode. I think it's one of the best ones of the series. And yeah, just really, really thrilled with it. It's a great way to bounce back after. So they probably went from, I think, the worst episode in the series to the best, one of the best at least. So great job to bounce back there. Okay, so for Jack facts, guys, there's one Jack fact that I almost spoiled at the beginning here, but the error is actually in the title of the episode here. So this is interesting because this episode is officially named Jack versus the Five Hunters. We never see five hunters on the screen. There's only 4 IMAKANDI ever shown. So I don't know where they got that from. There's 5 total, including Jack, but he's not a hunter, really. He's the prey. So that's cool. It's an error. So it's really like people refer to it as Jack versus the Hunters, which makes sense, or Jack versus the IMAKANDI. But like Jack versus the 5 hunters when there's only 4 hunters doesn't make any sense. So I thought that was an interesting little bit of lack of continuity and error there for our Jack fact for this week. So that's what I got. All right, guys. Well, that's another episode, a very strong one, a good one. Last week I talked about how sometimes you get complacent, or Jack got complacent. I'm sorry, that was not last week. The prior week, for episode 20, I talked about how, we all get complacent and sometimes episodes are, man, we don't want to keep going. That's how I felt last week with the farting dragon. But then this week, guys, I was like, oh my God, I want to put on the next episode right away because this is one of the best episodes of Samurai Jack. And it's just like, man, when it's well done, man, it's so well done. It's an exhilarating 23 minutes of television, and the sound and the design and the shots and the dialogue, man, it's just so good. And it's just awesome. And it's like, it reminds me of why the show is so beloved and why it's one of the best animated series of all time and why it won so many awards. It's because it's like episodes like this, and it's like you put up with the farting dragon so you can get to the IMAKANDIs, and super, super cool. Of course, reminded me a little bit of like Wakanda a little bit. So yeah, awesome stuff. And this has been another episode, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. And until next time, guys, got to get back